So how, like, what would you tell? I mean, I think we can all agree we want more broadband across the U.S., right? What would you tell other people that are starting out? Or I mean, what's your model? Your model obviously has been successful. So what have you done differently outside of obviously thinking a little bit differently? But what advice would you give different cities, different municipalities to do what you guys have done?
I think, just take the risk. I mean, people want people want broad. Well, when you talk about municipal government, it's pretty risk
averse.
Yeah, right. They do. They are usually municipal workers, and they're there for their retirement package, and they really don't want to do anything that's going to rock the boat, typically and traditionally. So, what's in it for them to take that risk? So I say just take the risk because people do want it. They're hungry for it. So.
Are you working with other municipalities, or you obviously you have very specific plans, but are you trying to share and educate people about what you're doing?
Well, we are. We get calls. I mean, I'm working with some folks out of Vineland, New Jersey. I've had conversations with folks out of Portland, Maine. We're in a group. There's Fort Collins and Loveland and Estes Park are all doing the same thing that we're doing. At one time, you would think because we're all probably within a 40-mile radius of each other, whatever that distance is, that we'd kind of be learning from each other on the rights and wrongs, and for some reason, we weren't doing that. And out of the last 6 months, we've really been meeting together, and we have really good meetings, and we learn from each other's and missteps and those things we did. But you just got to encourage. I mean, you said it really well, Ian. It's just telling people you just got to jump in. There's no, you just can't dip your toe in the water and see how it is. I mean, you got to stick a plow in.
You got to go full pint.
You got to go, yeah, exactly.
And there's so many of us out there, so many, I say, munis that have done it, and we're all open to sharing.
Yeah.
I mean, we really are. We're not secretive.
No.
I mean,
there's no secrets.
Right. I mean, that's what we were just saying on the last one.
Yeah.
It's like, do everything we can. We do everything we can to share every bit of information we know. And sometimes my team is like, "Wow, you tell all our competitors all the cool stuff we're working on." I'm like, guys, our mission is so big. There's so much opportunity if we're sharing. Sharing's caring, but if we're sharing, hopefully they're sharing something with us. And I feel like if you approach things like that, you'll get the same response back, right? And there is no secrets, and there's so much still to learn on a daily basis, right? And we have to stay open-minded.
So let me ask you a question just on. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
We obviously, have a company that can do designs networks. How important is it from your guys' perspective to get the design of a network right up front, knowing that?
That's a good point.
Yeah, how important is that to you guys?
It's of utmost importance, and I wasn't here for that initial design phase. Like Valerie always says, somebody else did the tough work before she and I got there. So, but we were told by the consultant, here's how you're only gonna get 30% of this market. There's two other competitors in here. They're formidable competitors. So not only did they say you're only going to get a third of the market, but they only designed the market for a third of the capacity.
Oh.
So now, we're having to go back in these earlier phases and really kind of do some revamping of the fiber design itself so we can turn the fibers around and recoup fibers. I mean, if you figure a 60% take rate on a fiber and you do a 1-32 split, a fiber's worth about $12,000 if you recover it. So we do initiatives where we'll go out and we'll recover 2 tubes of fiber. You spend 2 weeks doing that and you gain $288,000 back in revenue. It's not a tough thing to justify doing that additional, that additional work to get it. So
that's just take the risk, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. And I was going to add, there were some areas where we only built to a third of the customers. There were areas where we had a 90% take rate. I mean, we have a 60% take rate overall, but there are pockets where we have a 90+ take rate. I mean, it's nuts. And we all sat around in those early meetings going, can you believe this? We have an 80% take rate in phase this, and it's going, and then it's 90. So
but that must have created a lot of anxiety as well when you just blew past your capacity, right? And you've got people excited, and now you can't turn them up as quick
Right.
because you've got to go rehab and
Yep.
go through that process.
Absolutely.
I mean, we see it all
You
the
don't
time.
want to give the broadband crack and not be able to give it to them. Like, I mean, that's not
you
good.
go.
Right?
Exactly. No, I think that's like the biggest challenge that any of us have that are building these networks. You get people excited, but if someone's going to be on the tail end of that build and they're not going to get it for 3 or 4 years, you've got to really, you've got to have the soft gloves on, and you got to be really careful about when you start talking to them. And going back to the design aspect, oh my gosh, think about how much design has changed in the last few years and the types of products that we use. I mean, we would always have to initially pick what we think is going to be, the take rate, or just build it out for 100%. Right? I mean, you've got to make one of those two, choices. 100%, very costly. If you go too low, now we're waiting to rehab networks. And now what we're seeing, we use a lot of microconduit and microfiber solutions, not connectorized. Where in the past we would not even order materials until detailed engineering was done. Now we order materials at the start of the job. We use nothing that's pre-terminated. And then we true it up when the engineering's done and just cut everything to length. And it's literally changed everything, because when you think about the supply chain issues, that gets us 3, sometimes 6 or 9 months ahead, because you're not waiting to the end of the engineering. So it's been fascinating to see this evolution, because I love all the connectorized stuff too, but there's elegance and simplicity to deal with some of these challenges.
And you know where all those the CapEx challenges are, right? I mean, the expense is disturbing the dirt for the second time.
Oh, goodness.
If you got to get back in there and do it. I mean, that's why I said we just built a new phase in Longmont. It's kind of on the east end of town. And we are talking, well, we're going to pull in 2 144s into it. And I'm like, why are we doing 144s again? Let's just do 288s.
Right.
So you pay this much more for another 144 strands of fiber. It costs you the same to put it in the ground that it was going to cost you for the other stuff. So, we've been upsizing. We upsized our hut size just, in case somebody wants to come in and maybe do a co-location in a
Exactly.
hut. You
Smart.
upsize your fiber size in case somebody wants to come in and maybe lease a tube from you, a dark fiber. So, yeah, it's just the expense is doing the construction end of it. So you might as well gold plate that piece of it. And then you can take the hut and you can only cart it up for 30% and then, put on new E7s, E9s as you need them. So
Exactly.
It's so simple, right?
Just like that.
Just like that.
yeah.